has been introduced to the Caribbean since the 1980s. It actually started off with people purchasing lionfish as aquarium fish, because they are nice aquarium fish, and then they get too big or you can't take care of it anymore, and then you toss it out into the ocean in Florida. Right? So over years people just kept tossing them out. So they've been in the region for a while, primarily in the states of the Floridian coast. Then over a period of time the population would have built up, and at a critical point, right, they became a viable reproductive population. So what that means is you can have, let's suppose you have 2 lionfish in the water, right? That probably isn't sufficient to be self-sustainable in terms of reproduction and continuation of that population. But as you put more and more and more, for argument's sake, suppose you have 1,000 lionfish, maybe that could support itself in terms of the amount of offspring it produces when you consider mortality, etc. Right? And that's functionally what happened. A couple other events happened in between, but at the end of the day, you got to a critical threshold where you had a viable population that was able to sustain itself, and then it exploded. Right? So over the last 2 decades, it's been spreading fairly quickly throughout the Caribbean. The last Caribbean country to be affected was Trinidad and Tobago in 2013. Brazil has subsequently been invaded by the lionfish in 2014. But Tobago was the last Caribbean country to be invaded by the lionfish. In terms of the threats, the issue is more of its appetite and its reproduction. So it's a voracious predator. It eats a lot. And it's part of its ecology. It comes from a place where it goes through a feast and famine cycle. So it eats a lot, and in periods of, and conveys that to fat stores, and in periods of famine it feeds on that, it uses that fat store until it can feed again. In the Caribbean, there is no famine period, so it eats and eats and eats and eats and eats. Right? So but it's not starving to use up some of that energy. Right? So the problem is it's eating a lot of the juvenile fish, which in turn has consequences or implications for fisheries. Right? So fisheries in the human context, fishermen go out to catch fish. It's not existing, the current fish stock, but it will affect the next or maybe the generation thereafter of fish that are coming up. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is it eats all fish, right, regardless of whether they're commercially important or not. And a lot of these fish are important to maintaining healthy reefs, such as parrotfish. Right? Parrotfish maintain low algal cover. Right? And if it's eating a fair amount of parrotfish, then you get increased algal cover. Right? So ecologically, right, it's impacting the health of coral reefs. And then from a socioeconomic standpoint, if you have an algal covered reef, then you have fewer visitors coming to that reef system. To put it in context, a single lionfish consumes somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 to 15,000 fish per year. And that's a single lionfish, from thousands, tens of thousands of lionfish out there. So the lionfish is here. As with most invasive species, you can't truly get rid of it, right? It's embedded itself into our ecosystem, and the only thing we can do right now is manage it, right? So a whole host of different management plans have been implemented. Even here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a management plan. Regardless of where you are, at least right now, efforts are being made to develop other methods, but as it is right now, human beings are the most, human removal, I should say, the active removal of lionfish from the water by human beings has been the most effective means of controlling and managing their numbers. Now, you can't be everywhere all the time. So what we've been doing is targeting priority areas. So if you know this is your best reef, or this area is a fish nursery, or if this area is popular for tourists, then you focus your efforts on those areas to minimize or to keep the lionfish population at a low enough threshold that it's not an impact to anything. In the areas that you're not surveying or not removing or culling lionfish, their numbers will proliferate. You'll probably have a lot of them there. Until we get other more effective methods or more people involved, that's how will continue for a while. But until we sort of other methods. People have suggested introducing predators from its native habitat. It's the same issue as putting another invasive species in. We don't have a predator of significance in that there are some fish that do eat lionfish here, but to say that it's a prey-predator relationship and it's a predator of significance controlling a population, no, we don't have that yet within the Caribbean. So until then, it's the most significant predator is humans, basically.
Look what you done.